It's me, Nama Sharifa, and welcome back to my channel. So, a few months or maybe weeks ago, my sister gave me this old mirror of hers. It's quite dirty and blurred at some spots, and I have tried so many times to wash it off, but it just won't budge, like at all. Then I remembered that old trend on TikTok where people painted their mirror, and I was like, you know what, let's do this, let's try, and here we are. I know I'm not a good artist, but I'm kind of decent, and I know that no matter how this turns out in the end, I will be happy with the result. I know I will love it, even though I know nothing about art. As you can see, this video is quite long, but it's actually like around half of the time that I actually took to finish this. Originally, it took me around 30 minutes. After I edited it and sped up some of the clips, I got it around 14 minutes. I originally thought maybe I could use time-lapse because it was quite satisfying, I'm not gonna lie, but I decided not to because I want the video to be longer and much more clear, so you can actually see what I'm doing. But don't worry, because you won't just be watching me paint for the whole of 15 minutes, because in the meantime, I want to talk about some old book recommendations. Some old books recommendations. Anyways, if you love me, you know that I love reading. I used to read a lot. Lately, I haven't read as much, but I still love reading. And I think I've read quite a lot of books, but these are just some of my personal favorites. And I just want to share it with you guys because I think they're quite interesting, and I hope you guys find it interesting too. Before I begin, just trigger warnings, there will be slight mentions of rape, suicide, self-harm, and depression. So if you're not comfortable, then I don't recommend you continue watching. But these mentions are only for the second and the fifth book. So if you want to listen to the others, you can. If you don't want to listen at all, you can also. But if you don't mind, let's just go ahead. So the first one is actually called A Bend in the Road by Nicholas Sparks. If you don't know, Nicholas Sparks is quite a famous novelist, and a lot of his work has been adapted into a live-action remake, including The Lucky One, The Longest Ride, and the most well-known of them all, The Notebook. If you love romance, then his movies and his books are for you. But if you're the type of person who likes romance, but sometimes can find it boring or slow, which usually is the case for me, then this book is for you. It has a beautifully well-written love story alongside a mystery. It also narrates from a third-person point of view, which in my personal opinion, I find is really helpful to understand the whole story. Basically, the story centers around a man named Miles Ryan a few years after the death of his wife. After the mysterious death of his wife. He learns how to cope with losing his wife and spending more time on himself and his son. I actually just finished reading this book the other day, a few days ago, which actually gave me the idea for this video because I just really wanted to talk about how much I loved it. I bought this book at a secondhand bookstore in Penang around 2 years ago, and I started reading it last year but only finished it until now. In my defense, before I only read it to fill up my free time, and that's probably why it took so long. But once I got to the real story, I just couldn't stop. Next up is Safe Haven, also by Nicholas Sparks. This novel was actually turned into a movie, but in my opinion, it just wasn't for me, and also this movie wasn't as well known as the others. Personally, I did not like the movie because I read the book first, but the movie was okay. I guess it just wasn't for me because I read the book and I just preferred the book. This novel is also another one of those stories that has romance with a twist. It narrates from the third person point of view also, and it centers around a young woman named Katie Feldman trying to adjust to a new life when soon after her dark past comes crawling back. Did you see that? Did you hear that? Yeah, it's just really interesting to me. Like I said, there are some trigger warnings in this book, such as mentions of assault, abuse, and death. Personally, I found this book super exciting for the mystery and thriller that happens. It just really made sure that the book wasn't boring or slow, and it wasn't just focused on a plain, boring, bland love story. In addition to that, the love story was actually very well written and beautiful. Overall, it just explores the meaning of love and family and friendships all together. Literally one of my favorites. You guys can watch the movie first to understand the basis plot of it all, or you can just like go straight and buy the book. But it's just really one of my favorites. Next up is another famous novel of Nicholas Sparks turned movie, The Last Song. And no, this whole video isn't just about him, but these are just some of my favorite readings, and coincidentally, they're his work. Unlike the first two books that I've mentioned, this book doesn't have any mystery or thriller to it. It is simply just a beautiful love story between Ronnie Miller and Will Blakely. However, family is a huge theme in this story, so if you love fictional romance with a touch of family love, this book is for you. Like I said, it's turned movie, and the movie was actually starring Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth. It was very famous. I watched it too. I actually liked the movie, but I prefer the book because it was way more detailed, and I thought it was just really nice. It set up for the big ending, but the movie was actually really good too. So if you want to watch that instead, just watch it. But you might find it boring if this just isn't your type of stuff, it might be boring for you. But I personally really liked it, and I recommend you try reading it. Even if you've watched it, just try read it. It's just really one of my favorites, and I thought it was really beautiful because it was emotional too, family. So to me, it was quite emotional and lovely. It was really, really, really well written and just beautiful overall. Next is How My Summer Went Up in Flames by Jennifer Salvato Doktorsky. This is a coming-of-age fictional romance novel that has realistic characters. The characters are flawed, but it was just real because it's just something that you could relate to, especially if you're a teenager or you're coming of age. I think you could just relate to this. Not everyone, of course, but there's what I love about the character is that she is just not. She's just real. Like, she doesn't care that she can be annoying, but she's real because people are annoying. You get what I'm saying. But people can be flawed and broken, and I think the main character of this novel was just very much that. She was a teenage girl growing up. She's becoming an adult, and she's just going through that. I just really liked it. It was just a nice character. I mean, she's not that likable, but her character is written very nicely. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't like unrealistic or just totally fictional, which sometimes can happen, especially for a coming of age novel. People always think that what we want is to see a woman, a girl who's becoming a woman, and they're just so different. Like, we cannot relate anything with them, and that's not what we want. We want to see someone real. We want to see someone who we can relate to, someone who goes through the things we do. And I think this novel portrays it perfectly. But if you are not a fan of love triangles or anything similar like that, then this isn't for you. But if you like that unstable love story kind of plot, then this is really good. Personally, because I find that this type of plot, like an unstable love story, I think this is just really interesting and nice and exciting for me, because that is how it is in life too. Like, I may not know much, but I know that life isn't just a straight line where everything just happens accordingly. It's messy, it's unstable, and like I said, this novel just portrays that. Lastly is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. This book is one of my favorites that I could read over and over and over again. It's just a beautiful story revolving a young woman, Charlotte Davis, and her adapting to society. Unlike how My Summer Went Up in Flames, this book portrayed the lowest parts of society, and it's portrayed perfectly. How My Summer Went Up in Flames portrays the middle-class society, but Girl in Pieces just shows the worst parts in life. Before you read it, there are some things you need to know. The first one is that this book can be triggering to some. It mentions and talks about rape, suicide, self-harm, drugs, and depression. This is probably because the theme of this book includes PTSD, alcoholism, depression, suicide, anxiety, addiction, and mental health. So if these topics can be triggering to you, then I don't recommend it for you. But if you're curious, you want to read it, your choice. This book helped me realize and understand what I can when it comes to the lows of society that we live in. It also has a painfully beautiful love story that could break you down. It's realistic, and much like other plots of this novel, it's just realistic and real, and it just shows life. I will include a link to all the novels that I've mentioned in my description box below. If you ever decide to read it or you have read it, please let me know. I want to hear your opinions. That's all for today. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment if you haven't seen my previous videos. They are on my channel. Go check them out. Don't forget to follow my Instagram too, link in bio. Lastly, don't forget to share. See you next Monday. Bye!